Now it's time to Expelliarm yourself with knowledge.
The Ministry has fallen. The Minister of Magic is dead. They are coming. They are coming.
Nice meeting you, Mr. Robert.
How did we get here? A Patronus from Ministry Man has shown up at a wedding for two wizards, where even more well-known wizards are attending, warning of an attack, and that the Ministry has fallen. The entire system is being crumpled up and tossed into the wastebasket, replaced by a right-wing fascist regime. Not present at this cabal about to ensue are two wizards whose disregard for rules, norms, and laws have led to this very moment. When there is no enforcement of laws, rules, or norms for powerful individuals, the chaos is going to spill over as their followers and acolytes buy into the examples they set. Voldemort and Dumbledore's examples are set. The beginning of the final installment in this epic that is Harry Potter is about to unfold. To help understand this moment, we're going to look at the lives of the two most prominent wizards of the age. Although one is dead and the other is not in this scene, they led us to this moment. A moment in wizarding history. There seemed to be a different set of laws for the powerful and non-powerful in the wizarding world, much like our own world. Acts of manipulation or outright disregard for the law, whether for the greater good or personal gain, is still wrong. Dumbledore acts for what he believes to be right and just, while Voldemort acts out of malice, greed, and fear. These two wizards are so powerful that in the last half of their lives, they could be considered institutions, in the same way any government agency could, or media outlet. Throughout their lives, they've used their clout, status, and power to at best manipulate the law or its processes, and at times completely disregard the law entirely. Both believed that their acts were justified, Albus for the greater good and a greater sense of justice, Voldemort believing that his ambition and power gave him an inherent right to rule. The acts of Voldemort remind Albus Dumbledore of a path he nearly took in another life. He justified it using the same motto he has until his death, for the greater good. Chronologically, we understand young Dumbledore to have believed that magic is might during his time in love with young Grindelwald. After the death of his sister, Ariana, he goes through a great change, and his legend, status, and power grow. In the original series, Dumbledore completely ignores Muggle law, and perhaps wizarding law, when he moves the infant Harry into the care of his aunt and uncle, with the great quote from the book, "Don't worry, I left them a letter." Furthermore, when the trio goes out of their dormitory after hours, petrifies Neville and enters the third-floor corridor, which has been known to be expressly forbidden, they are not punished. In fact, they are rewarded. In addition, Dumbledore ignores the warning Harry Potter gets for his use of underage magic in the Chamber of Secrets, when he is blamed for Dobby's hovering charm. Also, there is no Ministry investigation into the petrification of multiple students on the grounds of Hogwarts, which turned out to have been caused by a basilisk, no less. The Prisoner of Azkaban gives us our best glimpse yet at Dumbledore letting the law play out. And what happens when things don't go his way? He then gives Hermione a vague instruction to use the Time Turner to amend the night's events to a more favorable outcome. The Goblet of Fire brings us Voldemort's return. The Death Eaters come out of the woodworks, and Dumbledore's past is seen for the first time. At the trial of Igor Karkaroff, Mad-Eye Moody and Dumbledore's discussion is meant to give us the impression that they are the law, and answer to no one. In the Order of the Phoenix, we see the Minister of Magic attempt to arrest Dumbledore, but Dumbledore got away with style blatantly ignoring law enforcement. He shows up at the Ministry just in time to duel Voldemort and deflect his killing curses. The Minister himself catches the end of the scrap, yet Dumbledore is never faced with charges. Dumbledore also refuses to let magical law enforcement know about the Horcruxes, or his hunt for them, instead only entrusting this information to Snape and Harry. Time and time again, Dumbledore skirts around the law, or bends it to benefit Harry, Hagrid, or himself. He justifies this with his power, reputation, and his personal ideal that he's doing it for the greater good. It can be argued that this is feigned or legitimate utilitarianism, but it is not deniable that Dumbledore manipulates and ignores the law when it benefits him. Then there's Voldemort, whose every move seems to be a violation of wizarding law. Yet he is increasingly legitimized through a populist fascist movement. The war is not what our Muggle world would consider conventional. This is a war of ideology as much as it is acts of terror, murder, and destruction. In addition to acts that Voldemort commits himself, his followers are out in the open, committing acts on behalf of their leader. Voldemort is not only violating the law in place, but he believes he's obeying a natural order. This contrast of one violating the law on behalf of the greater good could be used to describe either Dumbledore or Voldemort. They both continually violate or disregard the law to benefit themselves and to achieve their own ends. This manifests itself within the government when Rufus Scrimgeour is killed by Voldemort and usurped by Pius Thickness, a puppet leader for Voldemort. The weak state portrayed in Harry Potter gives way to the concentrated power both Voldemort and Dumbledore possess. Their ability to bend and break the law without fear of consequences is a look at what those with wealth and position are able to do in our world. Where fines and tickets are used to prevent poor people from skirting the law, the wealthy see as no different than paying a subscription service. Voldemort's justification is the equivalent of wealthy people believing their money makes them better. Dumbledore's justification is the billionaire who is happy to pay his fair share of taxes, but thinks he can allocate those resources better than any government ever could. Both are fallible. This brings us back to the chaos of Bill and Fleur's wedding. The abuse of powers has led us to this calamity and mayhem, as the effectiveness of norms, rules, and laws degraded from the top, a pattern that is extremely relevant today and stresses the saying, art imitates life. And to wrap up, these two wizards and their prominent followers are parallels to the wealthy and powerful in our world. Money is influence, and influence is control. Did he really do all that? Wow!